Gela patria por eso cum rete ke shola enu koriptiki si sukuri niki patakare tisota esu no morikita esu la patria shola yahun. Hi everyone, I am Tara, aka Spirit Mother, and I would like to welcome you all back to my channel on YouTube, Spirit Teachings of Going Within Self, on TikTok, 1974 Enlightened Soul, and I'm also live on my Facebook. If you're new to my channel, I always recommend, suggest, and I really encourage you to read the description on my YouTube channel, Spirit to Spirit Teachings of Going Within Self, to get a better understanding of what it is that I bring forward on my channel. I use a lot of my own life experiences, right down into like the political and the medical and the educational. Those are experiences that I've had, and I bring them forward, and I really encourage others to bring their experiences forward too, because hey, that's the way you're gonna make changes to something. Okay. And I always hear my ex-husband saying about how his sister is a genius. And today he told me, go take your SATs and then come back and tell me that you're a genius. Okay. So I looked into what a genius was. Okay. Because everybody has the perception that just because somebody has a high IQ, it makes them a genius. Well, are they ever wrong about that? So it's that part, this is going to irritate some people, especially ones that believe that, they're necessarily a genius, or they want to say that their family member, or they're a genius. Because today I said, well, I told my ex-husband about, well, maybe I'm a genius. He says, well, bring your SAT scores to me and then maybe I'll think you're a genius. Because he said that 113 doesn't make you a genius. Okay. Let me see. Okay. 113. That's on the high scale of average. It's 2 below above average. Okay. Now, a lot of people take the prescription of an IQ test being everything and it's all, right? Okay. So let me tell the story behind this IQ test. Okay. At the time of taking this IQ test, let's see, I had no sleep for 3 days. It was 3:30 in the morning. And I had just went through major traumatic experiences. And I had just died a few months prior to that at home by myself. Okay. So this here is a legitimate place. My ex-husband was, where did you get it from? Well, I got it from the BMI. It's Brain Metrics Intuitive. Okay. General intelligence, and I got my certificate. I even have a certificate serial number, and so he poo-pooed that. Okay, because he's called me an idiot and told me I was stupid and crazy and everything like that, which he's not the only one who's done that. And to those ones that do that and all like you can go fuck yourself. And I betcha I speak for all people like myself that really wants to tell you to go fuck yourself, but they're too afraid to. For one, I'm not a fucking idiot. For two, I'm not stupid. For three, I'm not a fucking moron, but you are a fucking ignorant jackass. Now, so I started digging into what makes a genius, okay? And cognitive things, what actually make more for being a genius, okay? So I have 3 here, okay, that were actually exceptional, and all of them have to do with cognitive reasoning, thinking, what have you. One is analytical thinking, visual perception, and spiritual orientation. Now, when I speak different languages, I didn't learn them nowhere. And what I'm saying is, it's not about the IQ. And let's get to one of the parts before I get into my IQ scores. Okay. Keep in mind, you had 15 minutes to do it. And I did it in 9 minutes and 45 seconds. Don't like it? Good. Dorisita. Do I got anger issues? Well, why don't you people ask the people around me why I have fucking anger issues? And it's not anger issues. It's just I'm fucking fed up. I'm fed up with people thinking that they're fucking better than everybody else. And they want to go around saying, oh, my sister's got a high IQ, and tell them, oh, she's a genius. Her IQ does not mean that she is a genius. Now, let's go to this. Okay. Mind grid. Okay. Does high IQ guarantee genius status? High IQ is often associated with genius level in intellect, but is there a distinct connection between the two? The concept, and I hope my ex-husband's listening to this, and all like him, the concept of genius has been debated for centuries, with some arguing that it is a rare innate ability, while others believe it is a result of hard work and dedication. Similar IQ or intelligence, quoted, is a measure of cognitive abilities, but is not a definitive indicator of genius. And if you know, like a lot of the geniuses, they struggle with reading, speaking, and writing, and what have you. Okay. Well, high IQ scores are often associated with exceptional intellectual abilities. They do not necessarily equate to genius level intelligence. IQ tests measure cognitive abilities such as problem solving, critical thinking, and satirical reasoning. Okay, so these are all they did. Okay, and all those ones here. Okay, analytical thinking is much like critical thinking. Well, analytical thinking, I got an exceptional, an 8. And if you look down the bottom, 8 is the highest you can get, and 4% have an 8 in analytical thinking. Visual perception, another 8, exceptional, Okay. And if you look here, 8 is the highest you can get, and 4% is what has it. Then subdural orientation, which is right here. Same thing, 8, exceptional, the highest you can get. Okay, and those all deal with the cognitive, right? Reasoning, but they do not account for important factors such as creativity, emotional intelligence, and practical skills. So that's life skills, that's wisdom, that's, the true intelligence. Okay? I have lots of creativity. I use those. You use those for it. Okay. Emotional intelligence. Some people say, well, you go off your rocker all the fucking time. That's because I'm dealing with people who want to tell me that I'm fucking stupid and an idiot and a moron. With all due respect, the one calling me that you might want to look in the mirror, because maybe that's how you think about yourself or how others have told you you are. So it's a learned behavior. See? Don't like that, old man? Genius, on the other hand, is often characterized by exceptional creativity, originality, and innovation in particular fields. I'm just waiting for my invention to come to light because, you know, we'll get into it. Okay? Because analytical thinking and visual and the septural, they all break things down into parts. Okay? But a lot of people, practical field, okay? A lot of people, you overanalyze something so much that you have more parts involved than what need to be. And that's why it doesn't work right. Furthermore, the concept of genius is subjective and varies across cultures and time periods. What may be considered genius in one era may not be viewed as such in another. Therefore, while high IQ scores may indicate above average cognitive abilities, they do not necessarily guarantee genius level intelligence. Okay? Well, I know that, I'm not saying I'm a genius, but I had somebody, like, they were talking to me and they just looked and like, you're a genius. And they weren't being sarcastic either. They were actually, because I was breaking something down for them and I was using the museum that I was just in order to understand what it was that I was observing. They wanted to take a picture with me. They asked, which was odd. They asked, like, can I take your picture? Defining intelligence, IQ metrics. Intelligence quota is a standardized, because sometimes if you're such a gene and you're talking slow, it's maybe you're trying to look too smart, or maybe you're actually overthinking things too much, so you're bringing it out slowly. Intelligent quotient, okay, the IQ, is a standardized measurement of cognitive ability. It is calculated by administering a series of tests that assess a person's ability to reason, problem solve, and comprehend complex ideas. IQ scores are often used as a predictor of academic and professional success, and individuals with high IQ scores are often considered to be highly intelligent. The average IQ score is set at 100, with scores ranging from 70 to 130 considered within the normal range. Scores above 130 are considered high, while scores below 70 are considered low. Intelligence theory. There are several theories of intelligence that attempt to define and explain the concept. One of the most well-known is the general intelligence theory, which suggests that intelligence is a single general ability that can be measured through IQ tests. So for analytical thinking is the capacity to break down available information into smaller parts and then evaluate and weigh up those parts in order to form logical solutions to problems or make sensible discussions based on evidence. Analytical thinking is considered to have the highest correlation with both problem identification and problem solving capacity. Your analytical thinking skills determine how quickly and if you can identify problems and work out appropriate solutions. Your analytical thinking assessment score indicates how effectively you are able to analyze information and make informed decisions, which are cognitive skills that are considered critical in academic, professional, and personal success. Okay. Just give me one sec here. So I asked, like, with regards to if analytical thinking was considered one of the characteristics to genius. Okay. Analytical thinking, the process of breaking down complex information into smaller, more manageable parts to understand problem and find logical solutions. It invokes systematically gathering and organizing information, identifying patterns and relationships like cause and effect, and using data to make informed decisions and draw conclusions. The skill is used in many professions for problem solving, decision making, and assessing situations from different angles. Key components: collecting all necessary facts and data related to problem or situation. Why, like, the biggest thing is conversation. Okay, talking with someone. Okay, you can't. We'll use sitting in a therapist's office. Okay, you can't expect there to be real progress if you're sitting there and you're looking at the patient or client or what have you, and you're saying, "And how does that make you feel?" That's not going to help them, solve their problems in that sense. Because, if you're like me, it's just going to fucking irritate you and want to look at them and say, I don't know, how would it make you feel? Especially if you're sharing a traumatic experience. It's not how did it make you feel? It's how were you feeling at the moment of it happening? And then you start pulling the little pulling stuff out, seeing the bigger picture. That's why I say to go into a therapist and spend 1 hour, which you actually, especially if it's a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you have about a half hour in total, because it takes you about 15 minutes to get into the office, get settled in, and actually start talking. And then you get to the point where you start talking and it's like you're patronized, or it's like you start to get to where you need to be to bring that pull through, and you get cut off because you're told, okay, it's time to write that prescription now. Or you're rushed out because, and you can actually see them. And I've actually seen therapists going like this. We need to start looking at the therapist and saying, like, okay, can you tell me what I just said, please? That way, if they're actually paying attention or if they're just there for the paycheck. Oh. And I asked, is analytical thinking one of the characteristics? Yes, analytical thinking is considered one of the main characteristics of a genius, but it is not the sole defining trait. Genius is a manufactured phenomenon that also highly involved creativity, persistence, and intense curiosity. That's, asking questions, like looking and trying to see the bigger picture. Okay, let's take, for instance, Nikola Tesla. Okay, Nikola Tesla, he would do that. He would see it before he put it out. It's like with my invention, I seen it before I verbalized it. The role of analytical thinking in genius analytical thinking involves the ability to break down complex problems into smaller, manageable parts, use logical reasoning, recognize patterns, and interpret data to draw conclusions. This is a critical skill for high intelligence and is often what is measured by traditional IQ tests. Geniuses use these skills too. Okay. So we'll go to visual perception. Okay. The reason why I'm bringing this out, because it's not to say that like everybody has the things that they are good at, but that stuff, actually, how about you test them on something that they're doing and see how well they do it? Okay. Watch them that way. Because people learn more by experience than looking through a book. Because there's a lot of other stuff in between that makes things so fucking confusing that it's just a whole lot of mind fuck in the brain. And then you're left like, huh? And you're feeling left stupid, or somebody looks at you and say, because they know how to do it and you don't, because you're not seeing it their way. You're seeing it a different way because maybe you're seeing it more complex and more simple, whereas they're way over to break. You have to break it down to see the simplest. Visual perception is a visual cognitive ability which allows us to organize, process, and interpret visual information input so that we can derive understanding and meaning from what we are experiencing. Your visual perception skills evaluation indicates how sharp is your ability to recognize even the slightest changes in forms and shapes of objects, or have critically you can determine similarities or differences based on size, color, and dimensions. As I said, like, people who are seeing like just the slightest changes, because I know that I go from multiverse through the multiverse, and I know I see between parallel worlds and what have you, because I can see the face change in the people. I can see the surroundings change just slightly. That's why it's like an OCD, where you see you set something somewheres and you leave the room, and I had my nephew and my youngest son used to play this trick on me. I put something like I put it where I wanted it, and I leave the room, and they would move just a slight, and I'd come in, and I'd walk over to it, and I'd put it back. Oh, they did that a few times, and then finally I told them, like, fuck off. Like, stop doing that. Because it's not funny, and it's not fun, but it is really fucking irritating. It's not a joke to the person who sees that. And it's like, it's an annoyance. Visual perception is a key aspect of human intelligence and a core skill regarding learning process. It is believed that people who have a well-developed visual perception tend to be better and faster learners. And I did the same thing about, the genius, asking if it's some of the characteristics of a genius. And visual perception, particularly the ability to process and filter visual information effectively, is strongly linked to high intelligence, but is one of many contributing factors to genius, not a sole defining characteristic. So just because you have a high IQ, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a genius. And I read that earlier in the words about it. So, hey, don't go flaunting around and saying, oh, this person's a genius, because just because they have a high IQ doesn't mean they're a genius. Let me see what they've created. You'd say about emotional intelligence, because, like people will say stuff and, they're very calm about it. Sometimes, that can actually be people who are unfeeling and suppress things. Because even somebody who's irritated, why do you think people go on antidepressants? It's because they don't speak up. And the one that I speak about, it's like knowing what goes on and what takes place in the home, knowing about the home itself. The ability to think visually and recognize complex patterns is a key component of creative and intellectual prowess. Research indicates that people with high IQ process information differently. Okay. Freaking hot. Okay. Septal orientation. Okay, these are 3 of the main ones that they spoke about. Septal orientation refers to, and I got an 8 on that, exceptional, as I showed you. And that's the highest you can get, in 4%. Refers to the cognitive ability which allows you to understand septal relations, meaning the ability to recognize and visualize the orientation of objects in space and make sense of their multiple relationships in a given environment. The set of questions related to your septal orientation skills has been designed to assess the level of clarity with which you perceive space and the object's positions or movements in it. In this sense, septal orientation set of questions tests your raw intelligence, meaning cognitive skills which are not relying on prior adequate knowledge, and thus your performance in this assessment is a key determinant of your general intelligence. Okay, so prior acquired knowledge. Prior acquired knowledge. What is prior acquired knowledge? It's like reading up on something prior to you knowing about it. Things just, it comes to me. And if I'm reading something, Spirit tells me if it makes sense or not. So I asked the same question with regards to the genius thing. Septal orientation, one of the main characteristics to a genius. Yes, strong septal orientation is a significant characteristic, often correlated with high intelligence, and is considered one of the multi-distinctive intelligence. However, it is not the sole defining characteristics of genius. No, but I do have 3, and I have the creativity, but I'm not saying I'm a genius, because to me, everyone has the capability of being considered a genius. This is just another thing that divides people. When you come into your own, when you actually let go of all of the ridicule, all of the stuff that people put on you, because a lot of the time it's how they feel about themselves, because they got to make somebody else feel shitty so that they can feel more superior and better about themselves. Subtle orientation and intelligence is the ability to visualize mentally, manipulate, and understand the relationships between objects in 2 or 3 dimensions. Research has found the following connections: strong correlation of general intelligence, subtle verbal and quantitative abilities are positively correlated. Individuals with high scores in one area are likely to have high scores in others due to a general fluid intelligence factor. Okay, now I did this. Okay, they give you a 15-minute time limit. I did it all in 9 minutes and 45 seconds, something like that. Some of you know me, okay? I didn't graduate from high school. I failed grade 1. I failed grade 5. I went to grade 8. I passed grade 8, and I started school in grade 9. And, I said, fuck that. And I quit. But when I went back, they tried me in grade 10. And, I wasn't into school. So I have the ability to do, I have this. I have exceptional in a lot of the characteristics of what, my husband saying about his sister being a genius. Well, I have the 3 main ones that they say. Okay, right here, the 3 main ones. Okay. And I have a grade 8 education. But people tell me I'm stupid. I'm not smart. You treat me like I'm an idiot. And I'm not the only one that this happens to. It happens to many gifted people who you want to make feel less than what they are, because you want to say, oh, well, so-and-so is a genius. They have a high IQ. Well, it just says it right. Just because you have a high IQ, it doesn't make you a genius. It can actually give somebody more the ability to fucking manipulate people. And that's why, they say they put these high IQ officials in your government. Go look up Donald Trump's IQ and Barack Obama and all of the ones, right? They have a high IQ. And the reason why they pick high IQ is because, they have the gift to manipulate the mind. But I'm not trying to manipulate your mind. I'm trying to break you free of the fucking manipulation that they can. See, that's the irritation. It's like I pay attention. Even when, you may think I'm not paying attention, but if you're saying something to me, okay, and all of a sudden, like, I'm looking at you like you got a fucking 100 heads. I'm looking at you like that for a reason, because that's the spirits. That's other forms of spirit, whether you believe in spirit or not. People will say the connection with God, but you don't understand what the connection of God is. People will say about demons, oh, well, yeah, it's a manifestation of deep memories, our ancestors. It's seeing the perception to be, they're talking about dimensions. Well, they talk about dimensions, higher dimensions, what have you, parallel worlds. You see beyond the veil, you see what others cannot see. That's part of the genius. Because you're seeing beyond a perception that somebody else puts on you because they are incapable of thinking outside of the box because they're taught safety remains in the box. Don't go outside that box, because if you try going outside that box, people will tell you you're an idiot, you're a moron, you're stupid, but you're not. Even like therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists. I'm not saying them all because, there's good ones out there. And the good ones out there are the ones that actually understand beyond the veil. And they too, like, they were going through what they were going through, only when they learned it, they learned the wrong way. They were trying to figure, a lot of them go in to try to figure out themselves. My ex-husband told me that his mother went to university to take psychology to understand him, because he was one of the ones that would see things from a different perspective, but it gets shut down within you and it starts as a young child because the adults don't understand. That's what the ignorance is. Big part of the ignorance. We dumb our children down because we don't understand. And then we say, like, oh, in all honesty, the children aren't the stupid ones. We, the adults, are actually the ones that dumb our children down, whether you want to believe that or not. Listen to your child. I know a little child that they told, they said about the wood stove, okay, because the water run, like their hot water runs through it. The hot water runs through it. So the little girl was telling them the water goes round and round and round and round and round. Okay. That night, well, they had left. That night, they come home and the pipe burst, the pipe broke, and they flooded their basement. She was seeing something they weren't. She was telling them that is the psychic gift, or it's the remembrance because it's the repeating of something. But people will revert to saying that an IQ test is that's it all. That's what determines whether you're a genius or not. And those ones that believe that the IQ is what tells you whether you're a genius or not, I'd say that has more to do with the ego. And just because you went to university doesn't mean that you're necessarily more intelligent, because wisdom is the, the best intelligence, because it gives you both sides. It doesn't keep you narrow-minded and focused on one specific area and saying, you're beneath me because my IQ is higher than you. Give them something that they like to do, and you will see how fucking good they are at it. But oh, right, a lot of people, because it's not normal mainstream narrative, you discourage them because you have to follow this because you got to do the work. Go watch the movie Ants. You have you have the worker ants, and it's the grasshoppers who's doing it. The ones that like to fly. They're bigger, they'll stomp on the kiss ant, they'll stomp on the ants. There's like I think I read like, well, there's many different types of ants. I think it's like 1,000 different types of ant colonies. Do you know you take a fire ant and you destroy its home? What happens when you try to destroy its home? Like all ants, they come all out at the same time, but what do the fire ants do? They come out and they fucking stick their ass. See, a part of true emotional intelligence is seeing yourself and admitting things to yourself. And, it takes somebody with a high intelligence to be able to come forward and see where they've, like, done wrong. Had somebody tonight tell me, "Oh, poor little Tara, don't hurt Tara, poor little Tara." With all due respect, dude, poor little you, right? Not being rude, but you're one of the ones that call me a stupid fucking idiot, and I'm not, and nor are you. And I'm telling you, you're wasting your fucking potential. Just say, see, a lot of people, because I just heard that I'm better than you. Just by saying that, that's your ego, because hey, I'm not in fucking competition with you. So, to my ex-husband and ones like him that want to go around telling people, "Oh, my sister's a genius." High IQ doesn't make her a genius. I want to know what she's created. Just because you can put a jigsaw puzzle together fast. I even looked into that because he was telling people she was a genius because she could put jigsaw puzzles together fast. Well, that's just the cognitive. It's not to throw shade on him or her or anyone like them. I'm just saying. It's because of people like you, while others feel like are left feeling like they're inadequate. When maybe you got some lessons too. It's like I was told that at Thanksgiving I wasn't wanted there because I speak in tongues. If you stand around speaking in French, like it makes you intelligent, you had to go to school to learn that. I went to Spirit and learned it from Spirit. I didn't pay for it. Well, I did a lot of Dark Night of the Soul and shadow work. Speaking of shadow work, I was at Winners the other day and I was walking up the aisle and I had seen this. And there was another woman there. She had seen it and she picked it up. Just as I, like, do I have you? So I weighed it and I'm thinking, okay, she got to put it down because once if she puts it down, I'm going to ask her, like, does she want that? And if she doesn't want it, I'm taking it. So it's the Shadow Work Journal, a guide to integrate and transcend your shadows. Well, I use this as my shadow work because I see myself through this. You might not understand the language. That's fine. You don't have to. My channel's not for everyone. I'll make you laugh, I'll make you cry, I'll piss you off. You'll love me, hate me, like me, loathe me. Some will even want to punch me upside my head or beat the shit out of me. It's like, hey, keep your fucking hands to yourself, but bring it on energetically. See, people say, well, you weren't like this. No, but see, the thing is, I probably was like this as a child. And it's like a kid because you're not speaking plain English and they're speaking in what you perceive to be a gibberish and not pronouncing the words right. Maybe they're actually speaking a language and you just don't understand it. So we send them to speech therapy instead of trying to, ask the questions. Because, like I said, children are smarter than adults. We just don't give them credit. That's why, the Whitney Houston song, Children Are Our Future, Michael Jackson song, We Are the World, and it's a lot of children singing it. You think just because you're an adult that you're a really fucking teacher and you can't learn anything from a child, I'll tell you right now, you'll learn more from a child than you will from most adults. Because children aren't programmed yet. That's the part where Christ is saying it's going back to the innocence, the childlike state, seeing things from a different perspective, not so much the perspective of an adult, but the perspective of spirit itself. Whether you say it's demonic or of God or demons or what have you, no matter how you look at it, it's all consciousness. It's God, Christ, Spirit, the architect, the one, what have you, experiencing itself and the experience itself through all of us, but that is the part that people don't understand. I've said it many times, how do you think, like, something or how to do something, but you never learned it anywhere and Like, and nobody's taught you it, and you haven't seen it anywhere, but all of a sudden you're able to do it. Where do you fucking think that's coming from? It's from spirit. It's the remembrance from the forms of spirit that has already experienced it. It's your forms of spirit. It's your connection to all. True intelligence comes from inside. But everybody has to put some kind of spin on it and say that it has to be associated with a number. There's two forms of God: one that works with numbers, one that works with sacred geometry. Numbers are the matrix. That's the father that likes to work with numbers because he likes to fucking make person que it's the illusion. Sacred geometry, that's the that's the, you say perfection, but it's a perfection of imperfection because no one is the same, but you put the same in numbers, repeating numbers. But true life does not repeat. A system keeps it repeat. That's the part of the deja vu. You have a deja vu. Why do you have a deja vu? It's like you've already lived it, right? So I didn't come on and show my IQ tests and things like that to say that I'm smarter than all of you. I come on to show that, your IQ, the IQ doesn't necessarily mean that someone is a genius. It's a step to it, but there's many different things to it. And those ones that say, oh, because you got a high number IQ, I want to see your creativity level. I want to see your emotion level. What else was it? Emotional intelligence and practical skills. And then on the other hand, is often characterized by exceptional creativity, originality, which is authenticity, and innovation in a particular field. But hey, people will look and you'll try to say, oh, yeah, you just want to say good your IQ. No, I know it's part of, but I don't give a fuck if I'm a genius or not because, you know, sometimes that just goes to people's head. Like I said, to think that, they're better or they're more superior than others. No offense to my ex-husband, sister, what have you. They say he keeps saying she's a doctor. She's a doctor. She was a doctor. She has not worked in that field in, I would say, what is it, 40 years? Close to 40 years. And everyone knows that, for a doctor, you have to go, what is it, every year to learn something new, to keep up, to keep that going. It's like, shit, man. Like, to me, him doing that and saying about his family, all university degrees and everything like that, nice for them. Maybe they had the means to do it and they had some of the support, but, you know, they're teachers, okay? But they're teaching programs. They're not teaching life skills, and that's what the world needs. You know, Albert Einstein was said to be a genius. There's a lot of other stuff said about Einstein too. Part of it was that some of his theories were even theories of his wife, and he was abusive to her. So they taught stuff in school about Albert Einstein, but they never taught anything about Nikola Tesla. Why? Because he made things simple. Just like it was simple. It's just a lot of people can't understand simple in the way that we've been taught that in order to be knowledgeable or intelligent, everything had to be so complex. The long version. Sometimes you take the long version around to learn something about the world, but when you're taking a long version, when something could be so simple and not so complicated, please tell me, how are you teaching time management there? Because there's no time management. And that's the thing. They say about time management and productivity. Well, a lot of the products you buy, everything fucking falls apart because there's so many pieces of something that don't even need to be there. It's like go through the analytical process and you get so far and it's like, oh, I'm fucking bored of it now. So let's just throw something else in there just to put it together so that we can put it on the shelves and say, oh, there, this is this new thing. I seen like where I have my invention. The company, they send different people's inventions to me of what is on the market and what have you. There's this shelving unit thing, and it was a couple collapsible, which I seem to in many ways to make sense. because it didn't look like there was a whole bunch of parts in the holy shit, man, I'm on. It's like it's coming in now. The heat is coming in. Necesito purificar. Electriculation la mekisukum. Ilmotukia sukre. So when I was doing that IQ test, I was half asleep. Like I was just like I'm like this, trying to like trying to read and looking at it and figuring like, okay, but sometimes you do your best work. Nikola Tesla hardly ever slept, but I believe he was a workaholic because he had no life. He had no life. It was all about doing. He was arrogant, but that was because he was trying to make sense why people couldn't understand what it was that he was bringing forward. And then Thomas Edison didn't see no money in it. And that was the same thing that Elon Musk said with regards to Nikola Tesla, where he just didn't know how to fucking advertise. He didn't know how to advertise. How exactly do you advertise free energy? You just give free energy, like free energy to people, do you not? So what advertising is that? So that tells me, Elon Musk, you just want people's fucking money, and you don't care about, you know, like different consequences. People can look up to Elon Musk. What have you? That's entirely up to yourself. But anybody who's trying to make a large profit and who's like in a billionaire in the hundreds of that in the hundreds of billions, and you think that they're doing it for you? Seriously, that's the manipulation of the mind. That's the programming. Elon Musk wants it. He wants everything run by AI. He wants to put computer chips. Do you know what I do to heal? I connect with my own energy. I connect with spirit and I go in and I connect and then I just take, if I feel it, I twist it and I turn it and I move it. And I do it with the brain too. That's why sometimes when I'm doing my videos, if I go like this and I say I'm connecting, I go like that, and then it's like, or my eye goes cross or what have you, it's because I'm connecting with that energy space. Which one was it? I read that on space. A little of objects in space and make sense of their multiple relationships in a given environment. That goes to your like within you to your body. That's the part of of Reiki. But that's the part where, we need to be teaching other people how to do it for themselves so that they can heal themselves and they don't have to come to us. Reiki was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to be taught to everyone so that everyone could do it themselves to themselves and become the master of it themselves and then teach others how to become the master of themselves. Because if people are coming for Reiki healing, it means that they want to understand how you're doing that. C'est la locutoria. It's like most of the time, like I'm in my heart space. I'm in here. I'm inside. I'm in the physical world, but I'm constantly working in spirit. And there are going to be there. If I look at you like you got a fucking 100 heads, it's because like it don't make sense. But then it's stepping back and seeing that okay, it's like parallel worlds. Like I said about the shoe store yesterday. Like I mean, don't do that. I went into a shoe store and there was a pair of boots there that my ex-husband liked, and we were inquiring with them. We tried two pairs on. The first pair he tried on, he liked them. They had more black and less red, but they didn't fit, so we had to get a size 11. And the size 11 had a lot more red to it, especially around the toes. And it was like, well, no, we don't really want all that red. Like, so they were going to look around, they were going to call the different stores from different provinces to see if they had them there. And if they said they would send a picture, so we could see it. I said, okay, you do that. We gotta go down the road and have a look for other stuff, and we'll just park there and we'll come back and find out. So we went back, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, they said that they're all the same. So she was looking at pictures, and I was like, well, what are the pictures? Oh, well, they just sent a description. And I told them, well, we don't want a description. We want to see a picture of the boots. So then all of a sudden there was a picture. Oh, well, we're waiting on one from Toronto. They had said that, okay. So we went over to get them. And he got the pair of boots that, they were trying to sell to my ex-husband that had a lot of red on them. And then comparing them to the ones in the picture. See, I'm so fucking aware that I was looking at the picture, but I was looking at the background of the boots, the background in the picture. Because Spirit was telling me, like, yeah, no, something like, look. And I looked, and he had taken the picture of the same boots that my ex-husband tried on. And how did I know that? Because I recognized the rug on the floor. So you lost the sale. and we were ready to buy them that day and have them shipped in if they were like the one that he was looking for. But you lied. You know, that's the part of the visualization, being able to visualize, see beyond what they're trying to get you to see, because they just wanted the boots to stand out. So they put the boots and the picture side by side to keep the focus on the boots, so that you didn't really see that they were fucking lying to you, and they were showing you a picture of what they took of the boots in their own fucking store. And that's where the deception lies. They tried to pull the wool over my eyes, but I was smart enough to see. Maybe I should say the name of the store, because maybe you do need a bit of bad publicity if that's what you're going to do with your consumer, your customers. You don't deserve to have those customers because you're deceitful. And that's why so many places are beginning to lose business, because you're a bunch of fucking liars running them. But people say, I'm stupid, I'm a moron, I'm an idiot, only because you're pissed off because I see what you don't want me to see. Just saying. But you'll think you're fucking intelligent and I'm just a fucking dumb consumer or a dumb person. I will play dumb, but you are the fucking fool. That's what people really need to start speaking up and speaking out, calling these people out on their shit, even if it makes you look like a fucking asshole or crazy, because you know they will say, "I didn't say that." No, you say you didn't say that because it's convenient. And I said that, maybe I should start carrying something around and record everyone that I speak to, so that when I bring it forward to you again and you say, "Well, I didn't say that," let you hear yourself. Because that's always the excuse they give. "Well, I didn't say that. I don't remember saying that." Of course not, because I don't remember saying that is a convenient phrase to not take responsibility. I told someone tonight that I had a private investigator look into my opportunity, because I'm questioning my opportunity. I told them that. And they asked me, "Well, who do you think you are?" To me, that was a very odd. You would think, if you're Like, you wouldn't be hollering at the person. You'd be sitting down and talking with the person to find out, like, what's going on? Why are you feeling like this? Instead of hollering at them and getting angry with them and saying that you don't remember. It's easier to say, I don't remember saying that, or I don't remember that, than it is to admit the truth. Because, see, the thing is, they can say all they want that they didn't say it, but both times there was somebody there with me. Will that person say that the person said? Probably not, because they told me, well, I'm not going to say anything to them and have them all attack me. Well, man, if you really loved me and cared about me and you knew that what I was saying was true, then you would stand up for me. And that's why I said, even if it was my worst enemy, if I knew that they were right and what they were saying made sense, then I would defend them. But I guess that's the difference between you and the spirit knows exactly who you're fucking talking to. It's just spirit, you know, not like not the physical, not my physical death, but the spirit of the movie called Flow. You say the other one was the asshole. No. So no, I don't have respect for that flavor because it's got no respect for anyone else. It's always going to be right. Everyone else is wrong, even when they're repeating what he's saying. Nobody else is allowed to have an opinion. Nobody else is allowed to speak. No one else is supposed to have a creative mind. It's time he faces himself. Instead of telling everybody else, we're sinners. No, you're not the sinner. He is. You're handsome. Watch yourself, man. And he's what? I just felt like it was just like I felt somebody sit. It was like somebody sitting, and all of a sudden they just took their shirt off because they were so fucking hot. Like, as long as it's someone who's hiding a secret, because the person said I didn't say that, because they said that they were taking something, they would take it to their grave, and then they said I didn't say that. You're fucking right, you did. Or what did I do? Get put into a whole other parallel world again? Seriously. Aren't we tired of the excuses yet? Because it's the Father that says they know not what they do or say, and the only reason why it's said that way is because the Father is the one that's jumping from person to person. He's the demon, he's the devil, and he's not even the real Father. You know, you say about the sociopath and what have you, the narcissist, that's what he is. Have you figured it out yet? What is Sipurium? Seriously, you can say I look demonic, you can say I'm demonic and I got bad spirits. You know, do I have bad spirits or am I just fucking tired of dealing with everybody else's or dealing with the Father? You know, and I said in 2020, before I got hit between the fucking lookers with a couple flashes of light because I hollered for God to help me, I was laying in my bed and a bunch of people were chanting, like a bunch of like angels and spirits and everything were channeling, calling for Lucifer, telling Lucifer to go home to Father because Father was dying. And I got the feeling, you know, it was like Lucifer just thought, you know, who cares? Maybe the Father should die, but you know, hey, people will perceive this as me talking about my earth father, but that's not who I'm talking about. It's like the part of, you know, have you figured it out yet? What is Kumar? Me kutupuri S1. You demonize the other person when the true demon was the father. Well, the perceived father. That was the father that was abusing the children because he was jumping from person to person. That was the one that was the mass killer that said, "Oh, uh, uh, you know, what did they call what do they call it? Um, temporary insanity. They don't remember doing what they did." But you'll say, "Oh, well, you know, you really need the hospital." No, you really need to get a fucking grip on reality and actually fucking wake up and realize what's really going on instead of calling it all mental health. It becomes a mental health issue because you don't look at the spiritual aspect of it. I give the spiritual grace, both sides of the spirit, both sides of the spirit, what you perceive to be good and evil, because they weren't born evil. They were demonized as being demons, but they were taken. You say, oh, you didn't want to obey the Father. No, I will not obey a father who thinks that keeping people sick and in fear. You're a fucking control freak, man. You're not a father. You're an egotistical, self-centered control freak. That's the perception, being able to see beyond the veil, being able to see the true face of the monster, the true monster. The wannabe leader who couldn't even lead himself, but would fucking let people beg if it was branded. It would use somebody else to save it, and then say it was the savior. Risike muerta. Kishukutoy. Oh, you're bad mouthing the father. Have you figured anything yet? Risikito purika muerta. Why do you think the world is treating women like shit? Because Lucifer was a female. Lucifer was the feminine. But you won't get that, right? That's why they demonize the feminine. I guess the father scorned her in many ways, more ways than one, and then demonized her and lied on her name just so he could look good. I believe there is higher. Like Freemasons say an architect, the creator, creator of an illusion, a matrix, is one. And then there's the creator of the sacred energy, the sacred. They say, look, keep it clean. I live a lonely life, and that's in the physical world. But like I said, I live between the physical and the spirit world. I'm in the physical world, but even when I'm in the physical world, I'm still working with the spirit world. And the physical world just don't understand the spirit world because, you're taught to demonize it. But you'll see your dimes, you'll pick them up, you'll pray to your God, you'll talk to your family members, and you'll say that's, and then others will say, that like spirit, that's not me. Then my question is, why do you bury your family members? Why do you say they're off to a better place? They're actually in fucking limbo right now. It's called you're the anchor. People go to psychics, and others will poo it and say that's the work of the devil. What were your prophecies? Preach about them in your book. You don't demonize anything. Yes, no. Like I said before, many times, it's not the physical world that helped me get through this. You taught me good lessons. You showed me your true nature. But I see what's beneath it, and it's that scared little child. It's that inner child that's afraid to speak up because it might get slapped upside the head, might get told to shut up, or told, well, the kid's lying. Guess you taught them to lie, huh? And then you get angry at them for it. So to my ex-husband and all like you, I have to ask, why do you feel it necessary to say that, oh, so and so is a genius, or oh, they're all university academics and nice. Some people just don't have that opportunity because, oh, right, they must not know nothing because they weren't very good in school. So because you're not good in school, you're not allowed to go to university and take what it is that you know you're good at because you don't have the education. My dad told me that 5 years ago you could go through high school and come out of high school and become a teacher. So I had a great education, but I got pre-exceptionals in the most imperative parts of what they use to class, whether somebody has parts and characteristics of a genius, which if you actually sat back yourself, you would find that you too have those parts because there's the creativity. Is it again? Creativity, emotional intelligence, and practical skills. Exceptional creativity, originality, and innovation in a particular. Where the heck is my sweater? Excuse me. See, I'm going to show you something. Okay. Sorry, I'm putting my husband. A bit of a chill. I bought this speaker, or not speaker, this phone for car. It's an automobile holder for my phone. And it's one of those vacuum suction magnetic brackets. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. It's a magnet. It comes out. It swivels in. Oh, well, this is supposed to go 360, but it doesn't. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna do this with my TikTok. Hold on one sec, please. What the hell happened? Oh, well, it's still going. Okay. Please excuse me. I'm trying to get this thing off. Now, I'm gonna face it towards there. Right? See this? I'm gonna put this on here. So it's not. Sorry about that. See, it's not working. And I paid $30 for it. So this is the part that they made this, but oh, one sec. Oh shit. Okay, try this. No, it's not even that. I thought it was if I put that thing on it, but it's not even that. And that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So I have to send this back. It's like it's supposed to go 360. Oh, there, sorry. It does go 360, but the main part, they skimped on the magnet because most phones are not fucking light. They're not light at all. That's the part where, they didn't finish the job. They didn't go the rest of the way. And that's where people get irritated. And people get irritated to the point where, a lot of people won't even send it back because they're so fucking irritated. I seen like an advertisement for those. But the magnet, the most one of the most important parts. on it. Hold your phone on. It doesn't work. So, I'm just saying, you wanna come to enlightenment, you have to do this. You know, if you're one of those ones that'll call people stupid and an idiot and everything like that, and you're ignorant to them, you're one of the ones that really needs that. They say some people don't get the love it causes your anger to melt away. And you know what causes your anger to melt away? Facing and speaking up a role that's making you the people say, I don't know, just stick away. How was that working for you? To keep allowing people to get over you. And you know, people who won't stand up for themselves, when somebody's standing up for themselves, they don't want the conflict. Don't want it around me. Well, then if you don't want it around you, then I guess the person that you're telling off is the wrong person. Maybe you should be telling the person off who's the one being fucking ignorant to the other person instead of telling the one that's standing up for themselves that they're the fucking problem. No, they're not. And you would be part of the problem because you're telling that person not to stand up for themselves because you don't want the conflict and stay the fuck out of it and let the two people or whoever it involves to deal with it themselves, whether it gets a little loud or not. Why is it stressing you? It's between those two people. And maybe the reason why it got to that point is because you got in the middle of it and didn't stay out of it so those people could fucking deal with their shit. Because if you are defending the bully and telling the person who's standing up for themselves that they're the ones in the wrong, how the fuck does that work again? Because they'll tell you you're part of the problem. Maybe you should be talking to the person that is, you know, talking down to the other person and bullying them, and then go look in the mirror and talk to yourself too. While I'm going through, it's like, yeah, I had to put that on because it's like, you know, I feel this like whether people believe it or not, I feel the spirits when the room gets heated up, their spirits, it's like it all comes in. I was in the bathroom, and I was doing something, and my cat, and he was looking at, and then all of a sudden he looks up and he says, like in telepathy, it's like, Danny, there's a big tall person. It's like, yeah, I know, I can feel them and kind of see them because it's like they're trying to grab a corner. And people say that, oh, well, those are demons. Like, Your child's like that's a demon that you're trying. It's disguising itself. Sorry, but physical people disguise themselves more than spirits do. Most spirits you can see the true form. A physical body is the mask. The true demons will smile in your face and talk about you behind your back. Just saying. We're all gifted. You're just made to believe that it's demonic, it's demons if you do this stuff. So my question is, why is it okay for the people in the Bible to do it, but not you? They're not classed as demonic or have demons. They're classed as prophecy. Prophecy. What is it? Prophets. They speak prophecy. Well, they get it from spirit, right? So why don't you demonize them? And then, sit with that and then tell me how the fuck that makes sense. Go back to your book. Go sit in your pews. Am I mocking him now? I'm just stating the truth and the fact. Only you're not ready for it. You would have thought 2,000 years or perceived 2,000 years gone by, you'd get it by now. Some people have. But oh, right, you mock them and you demonize them. Don't like me? Don't care. Don't believe me? Don't care. I understand where you're coming from because it's a talk. But it doesn't teach you how to find it within you. It tells you that find it out. Or more to see it out there. The demonic part are the ones that are saying you have to give them your money so that they can disperse it to people who need. If it wasn't for them being there, people wouldn't be in. They would have it in, and it wouldn't have to be. Why we give it to these places to disperse it is beyond my knowledge. I don't know if we're going to give it to someone who needs. A lot of the time, all you have to do is look to your neighbor. But you can't always do it for them because they know they can't, because they always rely on somebody else. So they're not learning. They're learning how to manipulate. But sometimes you have to stop giving. in order for people to learn how to obtain something. An act of random kindness is not something that you do to the same person all the fucking time. An act of random kindness is if you're okay, say you're doing a drive, you order your coffee and you pay for the person. That's an act of random kindness. Or you see someone on the street and you just go up and they're looking and you go up and you give to them. That's an act of kindness. An act of kindness is not that it comes from somebody asking for something. It's you just randomly. Not because you want to be recognized, not because you want that ego boost, or not because you want to be seen as a savior. People expect it, and then when you don't, if you keep doing it to the same people over and over again, they're just expecting it. So of course they're gonna fucking come to you. They're gonna come to you. They're gonna give you their sub story because that's what they use. That is another form of manipulation. But when you do that, all we do all the time, if you're doing it all the time, all you're doing to those people is you're enabling them. It's not about not helping people and not giving anymore. Because by doing that, you're not learning. Because many people that do that, they are able to do things. I can see like but it's you end when somebody does that constantly, they start getting angry and begrudging people, but they end up begrudging their own family members, and they end up taking it out on their own family members because then they don't have the means to help their own family, and I mean your immediate family, because then you say, oh well, I don't have the money or what have you. I'm going to leave it there and tomorrow afternoon, and we'll talk about the decision, okay? Because my battery's going to die on my computer. So I'll come in tomorrow and talk about the division, dividing people up, keeping them divided, where we found it to Thomas, and what many words will say Christ will pursue Jesus. Because anybody who wants to divide family members will show up here with me. Because somebody who's of God and somebody who wants to bring people closer together. That's what you need to do. With that being said, I'm sending you all much love, light, many blessings, most importantly, to anyone and everyone who wants to be into this evening. Which all be big and free. Most importantly, be yourself, be your authentic self. Be true to yourself, be kind to yourself, true and kind to others, even though it can be hard. Set your boundaries. Help them feel catered to. But just know that it's okay that you need to put yourself first in order to be able to help others. And it's not about giving to everything you need. It's about teaching others. Sending you love.